Welcome one and all back to the Viper's Nest. Now earlier today I tried to do a live reaction video to something, but my food couldn't handle it, which is why you're now getting what is essentially book club with Jack and Vergil, because my son is here too. You want to say hi, bud? Yeah? Well, your mouth is kind of full right now, isn't it? Yeah. So, as you can see on the screen, the book we're talking about today is House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. And this is the greatest book that I would have trouble recommending someone actually read. Because it's not just a book, it is an experience. It is like, if Death Stranding were a book, I feel like you'd have House of Leaves. And I mean that in the most very basic sense, in the fact that both, I believe, Death Stranding and House of Leaves are fucking works of art. I just swore in front of my son. I am so sorry, but I'll try not to do that again, okay? Thank you. They are works of art that I believe everyone should experience at least once. Now, on the surface, like Death Stranding, it is a walking and delivery simulator game. And House of Leaves is a book. But they are both so much more than that. Yeah, Vergil knows what I'm talking about. So, I'm not going to spoil House of Leaves, because I really do think everyone should experience it at least once if they can, but here's the thing. This book absolutely demands your undivided attention, which is why it took me like a year and a half to actually finish reading the thing, because it's not a book you can just like casually read on your lunch break. It's not a book you can half divide your attention between like it and Netflix. And it's definitely not a book that you can pick up and just read for 20 minutes before you go to sleep like I tried to do originally. Like, it got to the point where even when I had time to devote my energy, all of it, to this book, I actually had to have like a notepad nearby and keep writing notes on it, because there's so much to it that sometimes I would actually forget what the hell was even going on in the book. Like, it's that level of detail that you need to pay attention to. So, brief overview, what exactly is this book? Well, to put it simply, it's a book about a movie. Sounds complicated, I know, so let's break it down. So, the book itself is obviously House of Leaves by Mark Danielewski. The book inside the book is a book written by a guy known only as Zampano, or Zampano. I don't know how it's pronounced. I haven't read the audiobook, or listened to the audiobook. Now, I'll get to why you shouldn't listen to the audiobook in a sec. So, the book written by Zampano, is about a film called The Navidson Record, which is a film made by a guy named Will Navidson about the weird stuff that went on inside his house. So, here's the thing. Here's why you shouldn't just listen to the audiobook, because the audiobook is only the recording specifically of Zampano's writings on the Navidson Record, which is a fine story. It's an amazing story in and of itself, but you're not getting the whole picture, because in the book, the book about the Navidson Record by Zampano, it's been edited and annotated by a guy named Johnny Truant. And half the story of the entire book of House of Leaves is told through Johnny Truant's annotations, because he got the manuscript from Zampano and he's going through and editing it, and his own life starts to take really weird twists and turns, which he lays out through his annotations, which you don't get if you are only listening to the audiobook, which is why you shouldn't just listen to the audiobook. So, the Navidson Record, what's it about? Like I said, it's a film about some weird stuff going on inside Will Navidson's house. So, Navidson moves out to the country. He gets this house, and it's a fine house. It's kind of a place where, like, him and his wife and his kids can kind of, like, relax, reset their relationship, because there's a bit of relationship trouble, because Will Navidson is, like, a Pulitzer Prize-winning photographer who made his fame, like, going into, like, war zones and stuff like that. He's a real thrill-seeker type, and that's been putting a bit of strain on his marriage, so he's trying to retire out to this house with his wife and kids and just be a family man. So he notices something really weird inside of his house, And it's that the measurements inside the house don't match the measurements on the outside. And at first, the discrepancy is like tiny. It's like a 16th of an inch. So he calls his brother, who is like a professional construction guy. They like take very detailed measurements and they like document this teeny tiny little discrepancy. And Will Navidson becomes obsessed with this little discrepancy. And that kind of starts pissing off his wife a little bit, because she's like, oh great, something else for him to be obsessed with. That's not his family. That's the whole point of us moving to this house in the country, is that he's not going to do this kind of crap anymore. So they document this. They call in a specialist. The specialist... Yeah, you do hear an airplane, don't you? Sorry about that. My son do indeed hear an airplane. So Navidson's wife is like trying to ignore this stuff, and she's gonna deal with it by just pretending everything is normal, going about her day-to-day business as usual. So after studying this discrepancy for a while, like, it's, you know, a 32nd of an inch or a 16th, whatever, it's not that big, nobody really cares all that much. So while they're taking like various like detailed measurements of this discrepancy, Navidson's wife and her sister are like, they're putting in a bookshelf, like the most mundane thing you can possibly think of. She's like, I just want to take care of this one thing. I want to do it right. Cool, it'll make me happy. Some bit of normalcy in the midst of this weirdness. So as they finish putting up this bookshelf, they start putting books on the shelf. They measured it perfectly to fit in the wall where they're putting it. As they like put the last book in, yeah? What's up? I'm talking about a book. Yeah. What's a book? You know what a book is. I'm going to continue talking about the book, okay? Okay, yeah, you play on your tablet. Alright, so they put the last book on the shelf. The books all fall over, and a couple of books fall off the end of the bookshelf, which should be impossible because they measured this thing properly. Yeah? And then everyone looks up and they find out that suddenly there's like an entire like foot-long gap between the end of this bookshelf and the wall, which is impossible because they measured it perfectly. So now everyone's freaking out. Like, this isn't a discrepancy of like a 16th of an inch anymore. It's an entire foot that just came out of nowhere. So they start noticing that this house is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, and that's not all that scary. And this is a horror book, by the way, 100%. So like, the house is a TARDIS, whatever, that's not scary. I'm getting there. I'm getting to like the first real big scare of the book. So they start noticing that more and more places are becoming bigger on the inside while the house remains the same on the outside. And then suddenly a new doorway appears with a hallway, a dark hallway that nobody has ever seen before. Like, Navidson opens the door, looks down there, is like, well, this hallway is like 50 feet long. It should be like sticking out into the backyard at this point, but there's nothing sticking out into the backyard. The house is exactly the same on the outside as it's always been. So he's like, whatever, I'm just gonna lock this door, put locks on it so nobody can go inside. It's upsetting my wife. I don't want to piss her off any more than she already is. So we're just gonna lock the door and we're gonna leave it alone, pretend it doesn't exist. What? Okay, never mind. So anyway, so Navidson is, like, he's kind of chilling at one point. Him and his wife, they're like, Navidson's doing some stuff in the workshop. His wife is researching, like, feng shui and energy cleansing and stuff like that, because that's how she plans to deal with the weirdness of this house. Like, get rid of it through esoteric means. Then they notice that their kids are, like, yelling and screaming and being all happy from somewhere. They should have been outside. This noise is not coming from outside. And they both realize at the exact same time that their kids had gone into this hallway and disappeared into it. So Navidson and his wife freak the fuck out. Navidson runs right in, pulls his kids out of this hallway, slams the door shut. That's the big scare. Now, why is that scary? Let me try to explain this for you, because this hits real close to home if you're a parent like I am. So pretend for a second that, you know, you just discovered in your own house, the place where you and your family are supposed to be at their absolute safest, the most at peace. This is your home. You live here. It's yours. This is your space. Suddenly, this hallway appears that you've never seen before, and you are 100% certain that this hallway was not there before. And it's dark, and creepy. It doesn't make sense. It shouldn't fit in the house. And then one day, as you're going about your business, you realize your kids, the people you probably love the absolute most in this world, have disappeared into this hallway and are in a danger unlike anything anybody is equipped to deal with. As a parent, that is such a bone-chilling, terrifying thought. It's tough to put into words and explain to non-parent people, but it is a kind of fear that no one should ever have to experience, their kids being in danger from an unknown, unquantifiable threat like this. It is, like I said, bone-chilling, and that's just the tip of the iceberg of this book. It is horrifying on a strange, strange level. And like I said, the Navidson record is literally only half the story. Like, the stuff going on with Johnny Truant in his life while he's researching and editing this manuscript that he got from Zampano, which, by the way, something I didn't mention about Zampano, he's blind and somehow wrote this. How did he see the movie to write a book about it? It's questions upon questions, man. It is, like I said, it's an experience that I would wholeheartedly recommend to somebody if you have the time and mental energy to devote to it. I could not recommend it highly enough. That said, if you don't feel like you can't give this book the attention it deserves in your life, which, understandable. I had a job once upon a time. Not everyone has the time to really dig into this kind of thing, but if you do, do it. If you don't, I would say try to make time for it, but if you can't, understandable, and if you can't, just give this one a pass, because I completely understand the working life. Say what now?
I'm so thirsty.
You're thirsty? Alright, I'll give you a drink in just one sec. Let me wrap this up, okay? Alright. And, well, according to my son, that's really about all the time I have, which I hope I've sold you enough on this book and why it is an incredible experience that everyone should experience at least once in their life. Thank you very much for listening. A like and a subscribe and a comment would sure be appreciated. See you on the next episode, and as always, have yourself a wonderful day.